Hello YouTube, this is Southern Wolverine and welcome back to Rome 2 Total War. Some more 2 versus 2 action. Now this is a very long battle, so this is actually already several minutes into it. So I'll just start with the unit by the unit explanation. And there hasn't been a lot of action at this point. We've basically been moving around. So my army real quick is I have 2 units of these Indian armor elephants. I have 2 thorax swordsmen, which I didn't even realize Bactria could take. And I have a line of 5 units of pikemen. And their job is pretty much to protect these 5 units of elite Persian archers. Then my cavalry force consists of 2 Bactrian horse archers. I have 2 of these somewhere. I've got them in here. Yes, they were out here looking for artillery and didn't find it. I have 2 units of these Bactrian noble horse and 2 units of the cataphracts, the Hellenic cataphracts. Alright, Patrick, my ally, has a similar sort of army. Oh, I'm sorry, I also have 2 units of... Yeah, I showed you these already. 2 units of thorax swordsmen. Patrick also has a couple units of thorax swordsmen guarding each flank. He's got a line of thorax pikes. And he's got standard Seleucid archers out in front. His general is a Hellenic cataphract unit. He's got a couple other cavalry running around. I don't know where they all are. Here they are. 3 more units of Hellenic cataphracts. Very dangerous cavalry. But he also took this 1 unit of Greek giant ballistas, which is going to not prove to be useful as it's fixed artillery. And this unit and a unit of Roman onagers are the reason that we've been doing nothing but maneuvering to this point and not really having any fighting. And somewhere over here you see here's the Roman heavy onagers. This is one of the reasons I don't like taking artillery, because it kind of ties your whole army to protecting it, while at the same time making you reluctant to move towards your opponent's army. So I wouldn't have taken it, but that's just the way I prefer to fight. So the Roman army, this is I forget his name, Dez, I believe, who played in that siege battle with us that I previously recorded. So there's his Legatus. He has a couple, 3 units, I believe, of Praetorian Guard, 4 Syrian heavy archers, of course, the onagers. And then he's got a line of cheaper troops in front, although these eagle cohorts aren't super cheap. Another Praetorian Guard over there, and he's got these Hastati out in front, 4 units of them. And this is still a capable fighting force and is definitely a screen for his more expensive troops. The other opponent here is Partha. He's got a lot of these royal cataphracts. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of them. And there's some Roman auxiliary Numidian cavalry out here as a harassing force. And the rest of the Parthian army is pretty much all mercenary Sarmatian horse archers. Something like 8 or 10 units of these guys. That's an awful lot of riders with bows. I saw that and was a little bit upset. So really what we have to try to do is draw those horse archers in and hit them with our skirmishers. Or try to catch them with our cavalry or something. I mean, we definitely have to do something with those horse archers. They're potentially a very dangerous force. So I'm doing the sort of standard routine of keeping pikes right behind our Persian archers. And we're sort of hugging the red line, but this wasn't really the plan to begin with. These guys sort of moved out here, out of the forest, which I'm not sure I would have done. Maybe the idea was to get these cavalry loose. I'm not sure. So we're really not trying to hug the red line, but that's sort of what's happening. I'll take it, because it will help protect my flank. So you see there's nothing but horse archers in the middle here, so I'm going to make an attempt to catch them. But he sees it coming, and the heavy onagers are starting to shoot at me, so it's time to get out of there. I'd rather they be shooting at my missile troops who are in a loose formation, or at my pikes who really are just here to take hits and protect the missile troops. I mean, these pikes will do reasonably well against those Roman melee infantry, actually, if they fight them head to head. But they're very vulnerable to being flanked. And seeing how much cavalry Partha has, he's got nothing but cavalry. I want to keep my cavalry in a position to at least tie it up long enough for me to get help in there in the form of the elephants, which I've kind of left back a ways to keep them out of artillery range, because the last thing I want is these big expensive guys taking any onager hits. So I'm going to continually kind of run harassing attacks, try and draw these guys out into the range of my skirmishers while I'm kind of pushing forward bit by bit, thinking that if he's hanging back, not willing to engage an infantry missile line, we might be able to double team the Roman player and knock him out, and then we can change to a more cavalry defense strategy, because there are strategies for defending yourself against cavalry and there are strategies for defending yourself against heavy infantry, but it's hard to do them both at the same time. So if Partha and Rome were to simultaneously attack us, yeah, that could be a problem. So we're trying to avoid that. Fortunately, we have a fairly similar builds, so we're kind of just moving up together. So I'm trying to wedge this flank, and then Patrick keeps moving up to match me, so we're continually reforming our line. And this was an interesting move on Rome's part. He's got 4 skirmishers out here kind of exposed, and right behind them is this Roman onager. So these guys really aren't protected by heavy troops at the moment. These cavalry are within strike range to counterattack, but still, this is not the way I'd have these guys set up. So you see, we're going to start soon. We're going to start a cavalry attack on these guys in the hopes that we can get to them before a counterattack happens. And you see these auxiliary Numidians moving across to the right into the forest, and that's because he sees my Bactrian horse archers, who actually I put experience chevrons because I have a little bit of points left over, and I took all 20 of the units I could take. So these guys are heading over to the flank to try to get shots with heavy shot into these elite Roman infantry. So he's going to try to counter with these Numidian cavalry, because every shot I take at his Numidian cavalry is, you know, one highly skilled infantryman that's not going to die. So the onagers are firing away at my troops in the center here. They can feel free to shoot at these Persian archers all they want. They're not going to do as much damage as they could shooting into my cavalry or something. So now these archers came forward to engage, and here comes the cavalry attack. See, they're pushing all out into the open here, and I was really hoping for shot at these onagers too, because that's one of the things that's holding us back. And Partha right now is not showing a desire to engage us. If I were him at this point, I'd be thinking about running all my troops through these woods and getting around behind, and with all those horse archers, you'd just be able to harass the hell out of us, make it very hard for us to engage Rome. Now he is bringing up about a third of his force to counter our cavalry strike, so we're unable to get the attack off on these Balearic slingers that we would have liked. It does give us a chance to move up some more, and you see now the Roman has decided it's time to push and attack. So he's assembled most of his heavy infantry into a battle line, and the only thing that's not in that battle line is these Praetorian guardsmen. So he's going to move against Patrick. One of my Bactrian noble horse kind of got caught here by these royal cataphracts. I was trying to get some of these Sarmatian horse archers out while they were sort of exposed. So we're kind of running into a melee here. And really, this was a mistake. I should have pulled these guys out a lot sooner. There's just way too many enemies in this area. You see more royal cataphracts even coming in to join the fight. This was not a great fight for me, since I'm just so badly outnumbered, and my infantry and missile troops are nearby, but he can disengage before they'll ever get into the fight. Especially since we're now dealing with this Roman infantry preparing to attack us. So I've moved some pikes over there in an attempt to help, and they can flank. So I'm going to go ahead and order an attack here and try to force him onto these pikes, or to withdraw. Either way, that works for me. So you see some of my noble horse are starting to rout out of this fight. Pulling my missile troops back now, fearing that a general attack from Partha now has a gap to this flank where he can get around and start putting missiles on me, or even get back here and start shooting missiles at my elephants, which might cause them to panic. So now I'm just trying to pull what's left of these cataphracts back to safety. And I see I took a beating in that fight. These noble horse are down pretty bad. This one Hellenic Cataphract is down pretty bad. These ones are still okay. But that fight was not worth it for me. So it's time to get out of there. Now the infantry duel has begun. Some Thorax swordsmen are kind of messing up my pike attack here. But these Eagle cohort are still losing, so we'll get them. And all these Romans are now fighting head-on against pikes. So even though these are the cheaper heavy infantry, oh wait, some of these Praetorian Guardsmen did come up to join the fight. So even these heavy, skilled Praetorian Guards are having trouble getting through these Thorax pikes from the front. So we got a little angle here on, and there were these troops coming around, it looks like, to attack the flank. So I was trying to harass them with these Bactrian horse archers, but I was able to do some damage to these Praetorians. You see actually quite a bit of damage to those guys. But now these Numidian cavalry are coming out to counterattack, so I have to defend myself. They're going to do some damage. See, I'm losing a few of those horse archers, but they're going to take a beating in return. Really, he should never have had these heavy infantry chasing after me, because I have no intention of letting these guys get caught. And he realizes that as I say it, and pulls them back towards the main fight. So you see now he's attacking the flank, and these pikes are spread pretty thin, but they're still able to hold these guys, for the moment at least. So Rome's a little bit in trouble right now. The Cataphracts are attacking. So this main attack is definitely not succeeding. But with all these Praetorian Guards, these two units still coming into the flank, that's a potential issue. See, I brought now the elephants up and the Cataphracts, and the Thorax swordsmen are trying to protect the flank of these pikes. And I'm trying to use my missile troops to whittle down these horse archers while they're kind of milling around in front of me. So you see those arrows coming in, they're not doing as much damage as I'd like. But we're starting to wear them down. The Parthan still has most of his stuff left. He hasn't been in a whole lot of engagements. These Hellenic Cataphracts had come around the side and were sort of running around, hitting skirmishers and things in the backfield. But they end up fighting a ton of these Royal Cataphracts, and they're not going to be able to last against that, so they're now run off. So Patrick has lost most of his cavalry, I believe, at this point. He still has a unit of Hellenic Cataphracts here and his general. I think that's all that's left of his cavalry. So Rome is quickly becoming badly depleted. He's down to these 3 units of auxiliary Syrian archers, this onager, these heavy troops here, and then these auxiliary Numidians. Now I realize that sounds like a fair number of troops left, but we were pretty much all maxed out on number of units. So see, now these guys have broken through this thin unit of pikes, but now they're facing a fresh unit of pikes that has turned to face them. I definitely would have had 1 unit hold and had another unit go around. These guys are all kind of blobbed up, which means the bulk of these guys aren't actually able to get into the fight. But this flank is still holding for the moment, although this unit's going to break any moment now. But so now some Thorax swordsmen are coming in to help attack these guys in the rear. So this flank attack is running into some trouble. And meanwhile, the Parthan player has not done at all what I was afraid he would do. He's just been pulling back away from this fight. Which, you know, seemed pretty timid to me at the time. So whatever, I'm going to move up. I'm going to take out these onagers and missile troops. Well, at least that's the idea. Which I should be more than capable of doing with these pikes and my 4 remaining elite Persian archers. And the elephants are just sort of trundling their way back into the fight. 1 unit came over here to help fight these Praetorian guardsmen, but ended up more, you know, basically not being needed. Now it's just kind of getting clean-up kills. Yeah, well, look at all these Parthan troops now come into the forest. Not really the place I would have wanted to bring a cavalry army. I would have thought he wanted to fight out in the open plains here, or run around behind and you know, fight out where it's open. Cavalry has definitely a disadvantage in the trees. It moves slower, and it's got a melee penalty, I believe, as well. So we did have a bit of a cavalry fight over here. Looks like a unit of Hellenic Cataphracts destroyed a unit of Royal Cataphracts, or Eastern Cataphracts, and my archers came over to shoot into that a little bit. But they're now starting to run low of ammunition after all the skirmishing they were doing in there. And I'm quite certain that Bactria, or not Bactria, I'm Bactria. I'm quite certain that Partha has plenty of missiles left. So see, that's it for the Roman onagers. And the 2 Syrian archers are all that's left of Rome. So Partha sort of dropped the ball here. He sort of let his ally fight 2-on-1 when he could have done a lot more to help. Certainly as we were fighting Rome, he had opportunities to split his cavalry up, to flank around behind us, and do all sorts of things that could have damaged us in that fight. And he simply didn't do it. We even gave him a hard time about it a little later in the battle, and he didn't even seem to be embarrassed by it. So whatever. Not the sort of guy I'd want to be on my team, which is why I like to play these 2-on-2s whenever possible with somebody that I know and have played with before, and can trust to at least try to help me out if I need it. So now with all these Parthans in the woods, we're just trying to reform a fresh battle line here to ward him off, because he still has a lot of these heavy cataphract units. We're a little bit worried about a frontal assault. That unit of Hellenic cataphracts that was over there in that fight has now been caught by this just mass assault of royal cataphracts. So they're going to be lost as well, which means that all that Patrick's going to have left is his generals, a unit of cataphracts. So I kind of brought these elephants out here to dissuade these guys, because if these elephants could get in there, they could tie him up, and we could use that to get our pikes in. But as he's starting to pull back, I return these elephants back to the relative safety of my lines. I don't want them getting in against all these horse archers and getting shot to pieces. That's kind of a waste of a 1500 talent unit, especially since that's my general. Alright, so now we're going to go ahead and finish off these Syrian archers. We're going to charge the swords out, and I believe I even take these guys, the pikes, and try to run them in. And this is going to be all that she wrote for Rome. Alright, now the Parthian guy is going to spend quite a bit of time in the woods, so I'm going to go back in post-processing and fast forward a large section of this, so that you guys don't have to watch the 22 remaining minutes of this battle, and you can just see the end. Alright, so we're going to start off this section here by pulling back. As his troops are now all hidden in the woods from us, we figure we're just going to reform our lines. And we're worried about him, you know, pouring out of the woods at us with all these cavalry troops. And so we want to be in a nice solid pike line with our cavalry behind to reinforce, missiles behind, all that stuff to try to defend ourselves. And at this point the guy starts getting real chatty on the game chat, talking about, oh, can't catch me, and come on into the woods and I'll ambush you. And we're like, yeah, so that's an incentive for me to come after you, you freaking moron, right? So we're sitting out here for a while and he's not doing anything. It seems like the open terrain is where he would want to fight. You put cavalry in the forest, right, at a disadvantage anyway. So I'm going to send out my Bactrian horse to see if I can't find him. And they were able to spot him. He's back here hiding away in the back from us. Not sure what he's hoping to accomplish by this. As he said, we can't catch him. So what the hell is the point of running that far back? In any case, we're getting sick of this after, you know, getting frustrated and, you know, trying to talk him into coming out and fighting like, well, like a man. We're going to start to push in along a wide front, try to sweep the forest from him. I mean, if we get into a massive brawl in this forest, it's actually going to be in our favor anyway. So here comes my big army marching past, since I still have most of my troops left. My cavalry, as I said, have taken a few casualties for sure. But the pikes and the missile troops are still largely intact. And of course the 2 units of elephants basically haven't really done anything yet. So they're still very dangerous. Meanwhile, his troops are all still way in the back here. Not sure why he doesn't just run these archers out and try to kill my horse archers. Since he has a ton of horse archers still out here who have hardly fired a shot. Yeah, I mean, it'd be one thing if his strategy here were actually intended to win the game. From what he was saying to us, we're talking, you know, you let your ally die, and he's like, yeah, so what? I don't care. I'm paraphrasing, but that's more or less what he said. And he's like, just daring us to come chase him down. We were becoming very frustrated with this guy. And again, archers come out of the woods, and his cataphracts run away. It's like, come on, man, come fight. It's one thing to prolong the battle when you have a realistic hope of winning, or when what you're doing is going to give you a chance of victory. But here, he's just messing with us. That's the only thing I can think of, is that he's doing it just to mess with us. That I just don't understand that. So you see, we're trying to box him in here. You see the edge of the map is there. We're trying to make a square in that corner and try to pin him in there. So we're sending cavalry over. Patrick's army's trying to rush over that direction, especially in 8 times fast forward. Looks like they're really rushing over there. Meanwhile, my army's coming in from the other direction. Alright, and now we're back towards the end of the battle here. You see, we've just about got the door shut on him in every direction. We've got the red line here, the red line over here, and I'm trying to make a line here while Patrick has his corner already set. I sent my cavalry, what was left of it, over here to help try to hold these guys in case he tried to sneak around and slip through before we were able to close the trap. So by this point, you know, we are just itching to be rid of this guy. You know, he's got the faster force. He's been stubbornly refusing to engage us for, you know, I don't know, 15 minutes or something at this point, and talking to us the entire time. Although I will say he did start getting quiet right about now as he realized just how tight the noose was closing on him. So we're almost there. Just a few more seconds and he'll have the door closed on him. You see, once again, pulled away from the fight. The fight here, left one of his units to die. And I don't know what he's hoping to accomplish here. I mean, if he's just trying to stall to make us pissed off and upset, I mean, he definitely accomplished his objective if that was it. Yeah, I don't even know what to say, but we are now. I see my troops desperately running for the edge. I was thinking he was going to try to slip past me back into the forest, and we have to repeat this whole process again. But I'm just able. See, these guys aren't quite on the red line, but they're close enough. If something tries to slip through, I can come in and engage it. So now he's pulling back from them. He's still not engaging. So you're gonna have to do something sooner or later here, guy. Of course, this unit's now being finished off, and even my Bactrian horse archers are coming in to help clean up these guys since they've been out of arrows for a long time now. Although they were doing great duty as scouts for some time. So that's it for those guys. Now, again, he moved into the corner, so afraid he's going to slip out, and we're going to move our cavalry here to block him again. Patrick's going to shift this way again. You see he's getting set up right about here. A little hard to see on the snow. And I am moving up again. We're tightening the box bit by bit. So if these Parthans want sympathy, it's way too late for that. So now the elephants are splitting up. One's going to hang out in this corner, and the other's going to move over here. In case he does try to break out there, a unit of elephants should be able to hold him reasonably effectively. So here I'm hurrying to close the gaps. You see my troops yelling double time and running with their pikes up. as I want to make sure to close this corner off. After, 20 minutes at this point of trying to pen this guy in, uh, the last thing I want is for him to get a chance to escape. So soon he's going to have to engage us. Either that or we'll just pin him all the way into the corner and we'll just attack him if he's got nowhere to maneuver. So already his battlefield has been reduced to this. He is engaging these guys with either fire arrows, it looks like. So I'm going to set them up in shield wall to try to toughen them up. And if they do take a charge, that shield wall will give them extra bracing. So even after all that running, my troops are still only winded, although some of these pikes are exhausted. Only the Persian archers are fresh. And the elephants are fresh because I've been very carefully avoiding running them. So these thorax swords are going to take some damage, although you see they're holding pretty well against it. They have decent armor. And in shield wall, they'll be reasonably well protected from these arrows. And the fire arrows don't do as much damage in any case. So now realizing, I guess, finally that he has to fight us, these royal cataphracts try to break through with the bracing. These guys are going to take damage, but they're going to hold. And now my elephants are now getting into position to come counterattack. So one unit of cataphracts each on these thorax swordsmen is not going to break them, or at least it's not going to break them fast enough. So now he's just hurling units in here trying to get out. All the horse archers are pulled up here, so my horse archers are coming in, and what's left of these Bactrian noble horse, just to try to trap these guys against my pikes, try to engage them long enough for us to close in over here. So some of the other cataphracts have come out in this direction, and they're beating up on my Hellenic cataphracts, but that's okay. We've still got containment. I'm just trying to keep these guys from getting away. So now we're continuing to move troops in, tightening the noose, tightening the noose. Missile troops are shooting into these horse archers. Here comes the remaining Seleucid Hellenic cataphracts. My elephants have charged into these Hellenic cataphracts, or rather these royal cataphracts. And they're starting to do some damage to those guys. And their own fire arrows are demoralizing them. So they're wavering, frightened by my elephants, they're exhausted, they're losing the fight. And I am very satisfied. I cannot wait to put this guy down hard. So as these cataphracts are breaking, it's pretty much going to be down to these horse archers. Now the only thing that could go bad for me at this point would be if these armored elephants were to run amok from these fire arrows. Fortunately that doesn't happen, so they're going to just come running into these guys. We got the Hellenic cataphracts now running in to engage them. And immediately these guys start to panic. Yeah, not so tough now that Indian armored elephants are spanking your faces, huh? So they're just breaking and running for it. I love how they vanished there as they were fleeing. That was kind of nice. Like ghosts. Utterly destroyed. Yeah, so these guys have no way out. And they're going to rout off the field as well. So now we're down to just these units of Hellenic cataphracts who looked like they were trying to break through. Fortunately, we were able to contain them. So yeah, I just want to make a word at the end of this replay on don't be that guy. You know, if you're gonna play a 2v2, help your ally out. And it's one thing if you're prolonging a battle because you're doing something that you think is going to help you win. But if you're prolonging it just to kind of be a jerk, if you're taunting the whole time, and just don't do it. I mean, as a do unto others, right? I guess that's all I'm trying to say. There's no reason that this battle had to be 47 minutes long. And there's no reason they couldn't have made a good fight of it instead of leaving these poor Romans to basically get slaughtered. So that's all I have to say about that. And with that, this is Southern Wolverine. thank you once again for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe if you enjoyed the video. And this is Southern Wolverine signing off.